A huge 1 year's worth of subscriptions was donated on Patreon by Grindstone Coffee and Donuts, and I'm very thankful for the dedication to the channel. Anti-Venom, Horrifying Healer versus Toski, Jasmine, and Myro. A one-lander is an easy mulligan as ever. Okay, a slower hand but gets us into the ramp that we need, and then we can refill with the one ring most likely, so definitely keep. Turn 1 Soul Ring from Jasmine. We might as well get down the Orzhov because now that we've drawn into Pure Steel Paladin, it seems as though we're going to curve out quite nicely. We're last in the turn order as well, so it's likely that we'll get some land ramp off the Archaeomancer's map. Pearl Medallion for the other mono white player, and a turn 2 Guardian Project. Toski played a Search for Tomorrow on the previous turn as well, which I missed. We actually don't have any equipment to play for a while, so I'm wondering if to bother with Steel Paladin yet, because we might want to get the card draw off that. If we don't draw any off the one ring, I'll risk the Pure Steel Paladin, whatever. 2 commanders in a row in Jasmine, and now Toski, the Bearer of Secrets, enters play. We get into another cantrip effect in SRAM, so let's get down this Archaeomancer's map, start fixing our lands. Noteworthy that this guy sacrificed a couple of his lands to get out the Lotus Field, so we're certainly not going to get landfall off this one, but should be able to get it off Jasmine and then Toski, who is going to be at 5 lands, assuming he makes another land drop. A land enters for the Celestia player, like I said, so we do get another one into play. Daru War Chief is going to make soldiers, get +1/+2 and costs 1 less. Forced Claw is a 7/7 vanilla creature and enters to draw a card as Guardian Project cantrips it. Gaia's Cradle hits for just 1 creature in play on Toski, but obviously this will get worse and worse. Bracket 3 games, so should only be 3 game changers in each deck, and there is a Champion of Lamholt to help make the Toski unblockable, making the Gaia's Cradle tap for 2, and that allows him into one that we don't see very much of, Sandstorm Salvager, but this is a good one. When it enters, create a golem, and then you can pay 2 and tap it to put a plus counter on each token you control. So 2 creatures entered, putting 2 plus counters on the champion, and Toski swings in at us regardless of the blocker that we got in. Saving Grace. I was wondering if to hold on to our commander until we can use some protection on it, but I think we're going to be fine just getting it down now. Be interesting to see if this is one of the commanders that Magic Online players are very scared of. Argument to be made for going something like Solemn Simulacrum and then chump blocking with it so that we can reanimate it with this, but this is mainly based around the plus counters and the damage disabling. Pure Steel Paladin, not going to bother swinging in. This should be handy next turn with something like Solemn, and if Champion is going to start throwing a bunch of damage in towards us, which is unblockable, we can stop the damage and pile the counters onto our Anti-Venom instead. They didn't get the digital rights to the Spider-Man stuff, by the way, so we've got Open the Omen Paths, I think it's called, is the set, and it's basically magic versions of the Spider-Man stuff, which shows they can do it. They just don't always make magic versions for some reason. A Thalia, Heretic Cathar, is going to have creatures and non-basics enter tapped. And Myrel is in play here. I'm not sure if I covered that previously. Myrel is in play as well. Missing his land drops over there. Creatures you control get +3/+3 with Collective Blessings, so it is now a 5/7 commander and a 10/10 vanilla. And would be advisable to not swing in towards us. The 10/10 turns into the left and decides to take the damage, so plummets down to 30 already. Then the mono green player shows us a tapped Jolriel, which is going to start making cat tokens. He draws his second card of the turn with Toski, assuming that he drew during the draw phase, and then a Verdant Embrace goes onto the commander, so that will be a 3/3 that makes Saprolings, or actually a 4/4. It's noteworthy that the Champion of Lamholt does trigger on tokens entering as well. And so Swords to Plowshares ends up on the Toski. I missed that, it flew by, but back into the command zone, loses out on the Verdant Embrace as well, and decides against swinging in. He may well go for the activation on the Salvager. We managed to draw into a land, so that means that we can go for Solemn Simulacrum here, should be fine, and then hold up the Saving Grace in case anyone decides to swing in at us, which they'll be more likely to do if our commander is tapped. We could even encourage our opponent to swing in at us with his big 10-10, especially now that he's used that Swords to Plowshares. And we're going to be on the 7 lands we need for Emiria the Sky Ruin as well, which might be relevant later on. So that's good that we've managed to land ramp so well. Let's try and get some plus counters on the Anti-Venom. Swing it for 5 commander damage right down the middle. Decides to block with the commander, so he is going to put some plus counters on our commander, which is fine. So we now have a 10-10 commander, some plus counters to throw onto the Orzhov, just in case that's of any relevance. So there's every chance that we're going to take a heap of damage during this turn cycle, which means we might be able, with some kind of unblockable, to start one-shotting our opponents. Ghostly Prison makes it more difficult to swing in, but we only need to be swinging in with 1 creature in this deck, so shouldn't be too bad. And then a Bastion Protector. I didn't realise that was a soldier, but gives his commander indestructible and +2/+2. So that is currently a 6/8. Turns in down the middle as well with his commander, so he's going to make some soldier tokens. And the tokens are getting the buffs from the Lord over here as well, so those are 2/3s at the moment. Decides to block with his commander on that as well. 6/8 versus a 5/7. So the 7 toughness on this thing making a difference thanks to the Anthem. Nature's Claim onto the Ghostly Prison. This guy seems to be quite aggressive with his spot removal, which I don't mind seeing, as long as it's not affecting us, obviously. But yeah, he doesn't have that many creatures to turn in sideways with. Maybe he's trying to encourage other players over here. Now, unless he's got a big creature he can block with that he can play this turn, I don't imagine he's going to turn both in sideways, but I'd love him to swing both of those in towards us, because just taking 10 doesn't quite get us at one-shot range with 21 points of commander damage. We might be able to knock someone out next turn if we're willing to give flying with this. I suppose we could give flying and double strike regardless. We return to nature. Wow, going after him again with a Pearl Medallion. Not really sure what his aim is there. It's noteworthy that with cards like Akroma's Will and the One Ring, it is a little bit of a nombo, because we get protection with those, and those do prevent damage. So it's mainly used as an aggressive attack, like I just said with Akroma's Will. We want to be using it to get damage through, but protection from colours does make a difference. Let's see here. Right, we're going to declare blockers. We are getting hit by the 10-10, by the way. And let's save ourselves some damage. Go Saving Grace onto this, see if they've got even more spot removal they want to use. This will give our commander +3 to toughness and then prevent damage to us this turn, and instead pile the plus counters onto our Anti-Venom. So we might have been better off holding on to the Nature's Claim and the Return to Nature. Not sure why he was so aggressive on those. But we get 10 more plus counters onto the commander. In fact, there's an effect here, so I'm not sure blowing up the aura would have changed the redirection of damage anyway. But we now have a 20/23 commander, and our dear opponent over there only has 2 cards in hand. A Heat Harvest is a Rampant Growth and a food. He does have an Aurum Reef the Vastwood in play as well, ready to put plus counters on stuff, so he's obviously gone for a plus counter theme. And then sacrifices it to gain 3 life. He can gain as much life as he likes, that is of no concern to us. Following that up with more ramp in Kodama's Reach, so our opponents are down to very few cards in hand. Might be worth taking another turn off. Maybe, especially if we draw into a land next turn, we could go for both holding up Akroma's Will to protect our commander and the One Ring, although we'd want the evasion on this. Like I said, we're just shy of another counter. Maybe we'll get into some equipment that can buff it and we can justify taking out an opponent next turn. But what I was thinking is getting down the One Ring to start refilling our hand and using this to protect the commander maybe during the next turn cycle. Seems as though we're going to untap with our 20 power Anti-Venom. Well, there's a land. It is a tap land though. So do we have a basic or an untapped land of some kind on top? I think I just want to swing in this turn and force someone to block. He'll probably just block with a token over here, so yeah, either way we can force someone to block and just get 1 more plus counter on the commander, and then we really are in one-shot territory. So let's turn into the right and try and look like we're worried about the Gaia's Cradle and the 47 life. Deciding to take the damage, that's really risky because he doesn't know. We could go for double strike here onto him, which I'm kind of tempted to do just for the hubris, but we'll do the commander damage here and leave him in the game. So he plummets down to 27. We'll get this land into play. Might as well play the SRAM because we're looking to protect our board with a Chroma's Will anyway. Not that it would save us from a Wrath, but I'm just trying to make plays that will benefit us down the line potentially. Yeah, I was amazed to see him take the damage there. I mean, it does affect us now. We still can't get 21 points of commander damage as Alpha strikes on anyone, thanks to the fact that he didn't block. So maybe it was a good move. If he wants to swing everything in at us here, then that's fine. You might have to think twice about it, thanks to the play that we saw previously. Don't actually have too many effects like this in the deck. Not at instant speed, anyway. Swings the commander in at us, I'll just throw Solemn in the way of that, that's fine. Makes a bunch of soldiers again. 8 this time, and they are still 2/3s. Might actually take it, because we get more damage off the 10-10. I mean, maybe there's double strike here or something, but not likely with mono white. Let's just take the damage. So we do go down to 33 and 6 commander. 10-10 turns in against the soldiers. I don't imagine he's going to be too worried about that. I might even gang up on those with a bunch of these. If somehow we could actually get commander damage through, I'd be worried about an overrun effect from the white player, although there is a lack of mana, so maybe not. He does chump block. Saying that, we don't need to worry about overrun if we get down the 1 ring next turn. Toski into play tapped again for 6 mana, triggers the Champion of Lamholt. The now 5/5 champion swings in at us along with the Salvager and the Joriel, so we better hope that he can keep that blocker in play. Maybe he can get down more blockers in the second main, but we can't make any blocks thanks to the champion, so gets to draw 3 cards with the Bearer of Secrets. Drawing that second card finally triggers for a cat creature from Joriel, so we go down to 26. The blockers will come into play tapped. Broken Bond now goes on to the Ozolith, so we're going to have to rebuild the plus counters. Do we get protection from permanents? I don't really want to use this anyway. No, it's just creatures on this, but like I said, I wouldn't have used a Chroma's Will to protect that regardless. Plus counter on every creature that entered this turn with the land. So that's just this token here, I think. Oh no, Toski as well. A Circuit Mender will only draw a card when it leaves. So if we were to rely on protection from colours, like something such as Commander's Plate, for instance, then we wouldn't be able to get through the colourless creatures here. And I didn't put Commander's Plate in here, which would give protection from everything apart from white on an equipment, because of the lack of damage that it would deal to our commander, like I said. So we don't have like Sword of Fire and Ice and stuff like that in here either. We do want to be seeing damage on our commander in order to buff it. So I'm not above using a Path to Exile or something onto this if we draw into it. But we do have lots of Trample in order. But with Forms of Evasion we do have Trample in the deck so that I can not only be getting blocked but getting the commander damage through as well to further buff the commander every time we get through combat. So we could encourage them to block with something like this if they weren't already on 20 points of commander. Not only getting the plus counters but pushing some damage through with the trample as well. Alright, managed to draw another land. I'll hold off on that for now. Let's go for the 1 ring and see if we can get anything relevant. And I have to assume that this is going to land against a bunch of non-blue players. So we get protection for a turn, we don't need to worry about any damage dealt to us. Now let's draw a card hoping to get some kind of trample effect. Shadow Spear or something like that would be good. Alright, well that'll do. Trailblazer's Boot should take out the mono green player. So that means we're not holding up a Chroma's Will, but I think it's well worth getting rid of a player here. And we do cantrip on a couple of creatures. So there's a Wayfarer's Bauble, could be worth getting down. See what we draw with the Paladin. We've got Metalcraft available to us. Just another land, so play the land, and that allows us to play and crack the Bauble. So the green player was kind of between a rock and a hard place. Had he blocked us previously with something like this, we would have been on, well, north of our 21 power that we need. So we would have been one-shotting regardless here, but maybe could have gone in at another player. So I think he still should have blocked. Might be that the Celestia player has something for us though. Suppose he should be seeing where we swing in first. I could have maybe threatened Fairy's Protection or some kind of hexproof like that by not playing out the Wayfarer's Bauble. I don't imagine they play around that anyway. Yeah, I have a feeling the Celestia player has something for us, but he should probably let a player go down here. So go in at the green player, which is unblockable. All our opponents have non-basic lands in play, as most players will during a game of Commander. So down to 9 life and 40 Commander damage. We can pass the turn at that and just crack Wayfarer's Bauble at the end of Jasmine's turn. See if the Soldier player forgets that we've got protection from everything. Players often do with the One Ring for whatever reason. Yep, he appears to be forgetting. Myrel swings in towards us. That's indestructible. He might just be getting the attack trigger. Still can't go against Jasmine very well, but that might be the idea, that these two can gang up on us, and neither will lose the commander here. I think next turn the aim will have to be to get rid of the mono white player with some double strike, because there's every chance that he goes wide on us. Made 15 more tokens and there's still 2 3s, so he's got 26 of those available to him at the moment. Even if we got rid of the Lord, that would still be enough to get rid of us most likely. Birds of Paradise is not a vanilla creature, but does draw a card with the Guardian Project. We're still weak to board wipes at this point, and Jasmine has plenty of mana. A Felidar Retreat, gonna start giving vigilance and plus counters. Maybe he'll get some chump blockers in the way. Not sure what direction he wants to go. Well, actually the cat tokens will be vanilla, won't they, so that's likely what he's after. Plays a land after the retreat, decides on the plus counters and vigilance, so it's now an 11/11 vigilance. It does not have... yeah, it's not a vanilla creature anymore, so if he's got any kind of effects in the deck that care about creatures without abilities, then this will be a bit of a nombo. But a 6/8 commander with vigilance and an 11/11 potentially about to swing in. There's not really any decent attacks. I mean, yeah, coming at us all you like. I'll get another card draw with Solemn Simulacrum here, but you can't deal damage to us, so there's no need for us to block. Just in case there's some kind of you can't prevent damage effect. I can't think of one in Celestia, but I'll block the commander to keep us off commander damage from Jasmine. So I'll go for the draw. So before the draw with Solemn, I'll actually crack the bauble as well and show my opponents that I don't have anything else, which potentially isn't the right thing to do, but I want fewer chance of us drawing a basic. So we do, of course, take no damage there whatsoever, but Solemn does. So that draws us into Caduceus, Staff of Hermes, and yeah, lifelink is going to be very good on our commander. That gives us indestructible. It will give us the buff that we need to start getting the one-shots off as well, but only after we've gained some more life. So we'll lose some life to the One Ring, setting us even further under that 30 life. Draw for the turn is a Codsworth. Let's draw a couple of cards with the One Ring. Any kind of power buff would be ideal. Okay, Sun Titan can grab back the Ozolith. Wayfarer's Bauble, not particularly bothered about either of those. Let's see what we draw off the Caduceus Staff, because we've still got our Equipment Lords in play. Draws us a Marble Diamond. Rarely play this cycle, but we want as many white pips as possible in order to get our commander down, so decided to play the tapped rock. And then there is a Pariah's Shield, so yeah, we can't get buffs on our power with that either. Equip the commander for free with the staff, and we're just 1 mana shy of the Akroma's Will being held up, unfortunately. Otherwise I would like to go Pariah's Shield and equip. There's still a chance that we're going to lose to some spot removal though. Although having said that, with Akroma's Will, double strike on this gains us a bunch of life against this guy, takes him out and gets us the maximum life with commander damage, which would be 40. Obviously 21 points of first strike damage would just kill them and the double strike wouldn't go through. So let's go for the Akroma's Will now. This will give a bunch of keywords, and then we'll have indestructible from the Caduceus Staff as well, so hopefully we'll not see any spot removal from either player, but we'll see what happens. We're about to get protection from each colour, so they'll have to use it pretty quickly. Alright, oh, that does make, yeah, a bit of a nombo. That does make this fall off because it is a white spell, a white permanent, but that's fine. Let's swing through anyway. We're not gaining the life, but we're still knocking a player out. We get vigilance with the Akroma's Will at least, so he's not going to want to swing into our commander, you have to imagine. But we do have at least one alert effect. That tends to be a green thing, encouraging our opponents to block, or actually forcing our opponents to block. There's a colourless equipment that does it. I don't think we've got much other means of doing it in this deck though. So basically this is just like a ghostly prison type effect, where we keep players from swinging in towards us, especially if we can give vigilance. So in hindsight, if we were never going to get the indestructible, I would have gone for the pariah's shield and kept any damage from coming onto us. It will instead be placed onto the commander and replace that damage with plus counters, which basically means they just don't swing in at us, most likely. Oh, I completely forgot, we get lifelink. Yeah, I'm forgetting about all the keywords we get. One of them is lifelink, so we still get the indestructible from this. Knock him down again to 40 commander damage and -6. So it's still a 20 power commander, but we've got protection from white until the end of the turn, so can't equip this. Let's just grab ourselves a Codsworth and see if we can draw into any kind of spot removal, board wipe, anything like that. Might as well throw it onto the legendary Codsworth. So that is now a 7/8 with lifelink and indestructible, preventing all damage dealt to it. It's another little bit of a nombo. It's in here for the indestructible, and we're really using this thing in the late game. It prevents all damage that would be dealt to the equipped creature, but by the time you're playing this, then you're really making use of the indestructible and the +5/+5, I imagine, and starting to one-shot players, so decided to put it in here, but just be aware of the fact that this is one of the few prevents damage effects in the deck. And Eleshnorn is going to keep our Codsworth in play, or the staff will keep our legend in play, but kill off the Shram and the Pure Steel Paladin. Already drawn a decent number of cards with those. And we're basically just equipping up the staff and swinging through for lethal next turn. 6/7 bird against our 65 life. 13/13 against our 65 life as well. We do have an indestructible lifelinker, so we're not bothered about any of this. I'll just block the commander again for the sake of commander damage. So we only end up at 51 thanks to our lifelink, and then lose a bit more life to the One Ring. Let's see what we draw with this just out of curiosity. Draw step shows us a Wave of Reckoning. Each creature deals damage to itself equal to its power, and I actually do that. Does mean killing Codsworth, but that's fine. Put indestructible on the Anti-Venom first. Do have to pay for it now. Draw with the ring, and that shows us a Selfless Spirit, Boromir, which can both be reanimated if we cast our Anti-Venom in the late game. So let's go for the Wave of Reckoning before we swing him. There's actually some high toughness here, so only one creature is going to go down. So that sends our commander up to a 46/46 after dealing damage to itself. These have damage markers on them, higher toughness than power, like I said. But hopefully we're getting straight through for commander damage here, unless they can get rid of the Trailblazer's boots. Either way, we are going to gain a fat chunk of life. And it looks like they've got something. A Teferi's Protection, alright. So obviously if I wasn't trying to show off the interaction there and I was playing properly, I wouldn't have actually gone for the Reckoning. Would have played it safe with something like the Pariah's Shield, which we could have played and equipped. But we'll see if our hubris hurts us here. Let's grab the Pearl Medallion and we'll be able to get down a couple of chumps. Now, of course, I forgot about Selfless Spirit and the Eleshnorn killing it off, but we still get to keep Boromir at least. The Eleshnorn obviously phases back in at the beginning of the turn. A Last March of the Ents with 10 toughness in play, so that's going to get some decent cards down, I would think, and probably refill his hand with Guardian Project. We've still got Unblockable on our commander, but maybe he gets into Reclamation Sage and stuff like that. We may be more reliant on the Pariah's Shield than I thought we were going to be. Can always grab back the boots with Sun Titan though. Shows us another vanilla creature, currently a 14/14 Ancient Brontodon. A Fang Druid Summoner. Search your library and or graveyard for a vanilla creature. Put it into hand, and then a Mana Dork, and draws 3 cards to the project. Decides to grab himself a Grizzled Leotau, which he can afford to play for only 2 mana. Plays a Forest into the Felidar Retreat, and decides on the buffs with Vigilance again. Seems clear that he's got something here because it's taken him a while to take his turn, so he's planning things out. Got 4 mana available at the moment. Have to assume it's either removal for the commander or the boots, because those would be his main concern at the moment. Boromir only gives indestructible to creatures, and we've already seen this guy's swords, I think. Yeah, so that's one less exile effect. Okay, an Archdruid's Charm. He wants to fight the Codsworth, so maybe he's trying to encourage us to sacrifice this. I was going to do it to blocks anyway, so we've got Indestructible on the commander regardless. Yeah, we might just be playing into his hand here, but let's do it. Codsworth gives Ward 2 on our commander as well, so you can't play around that anymore. We'll just make our commander the Ring Bearer. Don't think it really matters with Boromir. Not often going to be many creatures with greater power than Anti-Venom if we have our way. So I have to assume at this point that we just take him out next turn. I'm glad that we've been blocking commander damage all game. So an 11-11 Elesh Norn and a 10-12 commander. Codsworth blocks the commander and we take 8. Still north of our starting life total. So instead of messing around and trying to show you different aspects of the deck this time, why don't we just go straight through to combat? I'll draw with the ring first. We're still going to be north of 30, so still have the buff, but got 38 plus counters, so I don't think that matters. Draw a land, draw a bunch more lands, and there's Pariah, an easier version of Pariah's Shield. Got Swiftfoot Boots for a Sun Titan as well, so yeah, looking pretty good there. Let's just hopefully put our opponent out of his misery. It might be that he hasn't noticed that we've got Ward on the commander, or maybe that's why he was trying to get rid of this. I don't know, I'm not sure. He would have been better off using the Path to Exile or whatever it is he's got and paying the Ward instead of going for this. Might be that we just got really lucky and didn't see spot removal on our commander all game somehow. So there we are, take him down by 46 commander damage I think it was, and goes below 0 on his life total as well. I've been kicked out into the lobby now, I think it was 46 points of commander damage. That turned out to be a convincing game for us. Didn't see too much with regards to actually getting counters onto our commander. That's going to be the trouble with this thing. The way to build it really is to put your opponents between a rock and a hard place. You want to be encouraging them to block to get the counters onto Venom, but then that means that you're not dealing combat damage or commander damage specifically. That's why I opted for Trample, as I mentioned before, because then you can get the best of both worlds, assuming that your commander has enough power to get trample damage through the toughness. Anyway, it's my first visit to the Spider-Man set, so hopefully you all enjoyed it. Please consider donating on Patreon. The views have plummeted ever since. Everyone is turning their backs on the Universes Beyond stuff, so it just gives me more and more reason to quit the channel. And frankly, if you want me to keep it up, then I'm going to need support on Patreon. So massive thank you to those of you who do that already, and I'll see you all in the next one. I'm TribalKai. Thank you for watching.